Why did you pick the image that you sent? And can you describe it for people who aren't looking at it? What did you send us, and why is it important? Why does this inspire you for a better future?
Yeah, so I was Nichelle's assistant in 2019 at the Vegas show. I was, as you know, I know Nichelle, friends with Nichelle, and her son asked me to help out. So I was there all weekend with her. And, Walt came over because he wanted to see Nichelle. And he
And
came.
by Walt, you mean?
Walter Koenig, yes, he came and he wanted to see Nichelle, so he came over to see. And you know how they do when they get together, how they laugh and joke. You know what I'm talking about.
I know it, but I'm
I
saying
know you know what I'm talking about.
Anyone watching this might want to know who Nichelle and Walt are, but
yeah. Nichelle Nichols and Walter Koenig. And so, he came and he sat down next to her, and I said, "Hey, can I get a picture of the two of you?" And they said, "Sure." And Nichelle just very spontaneously, reached over and kissed Walt. And I thought that was just the perfect photo, which I took at the time. There's no one else around, so I was the only one who got that photo. And I just thought here is a friendship for all these years, and they still love each other. And I thought that's pretty special. Like, how many television shows do you have, or friendships do you have, or anything in your life where for, over 50 years, that person has that much meaning still in your life? And I thought that picture of the two of them, and again, it was very spontaneous, and I just love that photo.
yeah, no, it's beautiful. I'm wondering if you can further bridge the gap between, there's so much new Star Trek out there, and Star Trek on some level is the same as it ever was, but on another level, it's incredibly different. Can you talk about, if you don't mind, you're talking about that photo, and you're talking about Walter Koenig and Nichelle Nichols. Can you talk about what Star Trek was back in 1966 when it came out, and maybe talk on some level what that relationship might have been like in terms of people working on the show?
Yeah, so as I was saying, so I don't know if you know this or not, but in my dad's father actually had a friend who worked in Hollywood for a number of years. And we were there and I've always been a Star Trek fan since 1966. But in 1967, we were in LA, and my dad's friend got us on the set of Star Trek. So I actually sat in the original captain's chair.
Nice. Wow. No, I haven't done that. That's amazing.
Yeah, obviously I didn't, parents didn't take a picture, back then you didn't have cell phones like you do now, but that just made me love Star Trek even more. So yeah, I've watched it ever since I was a kid. It's always been something. That Lost in Space was big back then. I watched all that stuff, all that sci-fi stuff as a child. So yeah, Star Trek was just always special to me. And this was even before man walked on the moon. So that really, back as a child, you didn't really have space travel. So it really, fueled your imagination as a child.
Sure. Can I ask in what way? What when you submitted what you submitted, our campaign asks what inspires you, what makes you believe in that better future. So if I can ask you, what is it about Star Trek? That photo is spectacular because it's two people from the original series that you love, but what is it about Star Trek that makes you believe in a better future?
Obviously the last few years, our country has gone through some things. And it's been very challenging to see us move away from Gene's vision. I think we're farther away from it now than we were in 1966 in some ways. And so when I watch Star Trek, I hope that we can get there. My one hope is, I don't know if you know this, but I work with young people, one of the things that I do. And I see young people and they give me hope. I feel that the younger generation, this new generation, the Z generation, is pretty amazing. They've lived through a lot themselves, and I feel that they're fighters. And I feel that in a lot of ways, young people will lead us hopefully into that future that your father saw, that I hoped as a child I would grow up into, which obviously didn't happen, but I'm still hopeful that we can still get there. I'm still hopeful that, where, as your father said, the idic philosophy, infinite diversity and infinite combinations. That's what will get us to that future, is accepting the fact that different is good. and that we're all one planet, one people, one race. And we're just not quite there right now.
That's awesome. Can I ask you to I just want to I mean, honestly, for this video, I think we've got what we need, but I because I know you and I love you and I know your passion, can I ask you to dig a little bit deeper into the IDIC philosophy? Because I think that's very relevant to our foundation and that's very relevant to this campaign.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate because I work in tech. I happen to work in an environment that's incredibly diverse. I look at my coworkers and we have pretty much a little bit of everything that's part of the planet, the human race, like we're all, like my entire team is just very diverse. And I like that I work in that environment. And I think, I personally see that when you have diversity and you're working in groups of people where you really, like no one really looks the same. But you all have the same vision and the same goal, that you want to be high performing and that you want to make a difference, and that the work that you do when working as a team helps you reach your goal. I realize that diversity really is strength, because people bring different ideas to the table. If you have everyone who looks exactly the same and has the same background and you're sitting at the table, you've got no new ideas. You're making decisions based on what you want. And, when you look at companies, and if companies are building products, or nations are building a country, you gotta take a look at, you're not selling a product to just all white men or whatever. You're selling products, or you're selling things to a diverse group of people, and to make sure that you're really creating the best product, or getting the best item out there, you really need to make sure that you're considering everybody and not just one type of person. So the more diversity you have on a team, then the better you're building for everybody, because everyone has a point of view of, well, yeah, that's great, but a young person feels differently than this person, or someone who's African American or Hispanic might want something different, based on their background, or a woman versus a man or whatever. But I personally have found that I've been very fortunate that I've worked in very diverse environments most of my career, and it really does create more high performing teams that, again, you end up with something that is good for everybody. I think diversity is a good thing. And I just wish everyone saw that.
Couldn't agree more. That's awesome. Forgive me if this question is a bit redundant, but because of what you just said, and I think you probably might repeat yourself a little, what does the future look like 100 years from now, assuming we follow this idea of inclusivity and a diverse culture and acceptance of everyone? You spoke to it just now, but I'm just saying, do you mind painting a picture of what that might look like?
I'd love to see a world where it's what you see in Star Trek. What you see like in the Next Generation, where people, there is no war, there is no hate, there is no poverty. There is equality of education, which we don't have in this country right now, which I think is a huge problem. Because I work with young people, I have learned that if you have equal education and you give everybody equal opportunity, regardless of their background, they will thrive and they will reach their potential. And then once they get into society, they will contribute to society in a very positive way. All of society benefits when people are educated and people are able to reach their full potential. Everybody does, everyone benefits. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't see that. And I'm hoping that we do get to that future where everyone is able to be their best self and follow their dreams and be the person that they were meant to be. So that's what I'd like to see, because all of society will benefit from that in the future. So I'm hoping in 100 years we're there, Rod.
Yeah, no kidding. Linda, I don't mean to draw this out any further than it is, but I love what you're saying, and I love the fact that you're talking about education. I'm going to ask, I'm completely off script here. I'm doing this more for myself and the fact that I know you. So I'm having a weird conversation in the morning with you about stuff that you and I may not normally talk about.
But we don't.
Yeah. Sorry. talk about education, and because I have similar feelings as what you just said. Can you describe what you mean by education? Because I not to put words in your mouth, just going to school and doing STEM is not necessarily the only thing. So please.
No. So that's what I do. So I work with what I do in my real life is I help do outreach to get more women and underrepresented minorities into engineering fields. And so because this is what I do and have seen a lot of success, I've seen a lot of change in the last 5 to 6 years, both at the different college level. Like I can tell you 10 years ago, I'd go to, hire an engineer and you'd have like almost no women. And now 50% of the engineers that I hire are women. 30% are diversity. You didn't see that 10 years ago. And I think a lot of that happens because there was a concentrated effort by the tech companies and a lot of the schools to focus on increasing it by going into grade schools and high schools. And, and a lot of companies creating boot camps and different programs that allowed an individual to be able to get the training and the mentoring and the coaching that they needed. Where literally you're leveling the playing field. And that's what you need to do in education, is you have to level it so that every individual has equal access to the same knowledge. Because when you do that, it doesn't matter what your background is or where you came from. If you take, and I've seen this, if you take a young person and they love to learn and you put them in an environment where you allow them to thrive and you coach them and you mentor them, and they really know that you care and you want them to succeed, it's amazing to see how they grow and they build their confidence. And then what's even more interesting that I see is once individuals get into engineering or they get into STEM and they get successful because someone invested time in them, they then become the mentor. They pay it forward. And you're creating this army of individuals who I was there. And when you have a young person who can see someone who looks like them and has a background like them, then they know they can do it. And so the more individuals that you get, the more women and the more diversity you get into the STEM fields, and the more people can see, wow, there's someone who looks like me. I mean, look at Mae Jemison. When they asked her, well, why did you become an astronaut? Well, because I saw Nichelle Nichols. I saw someone who looked like me. And the more individuals you can get into those fields who are diverse and have lots of different backgrounds, then it's much easier for other individuals to say, oh, I can do that. I can be an engineer. I can be a scientist because that person looks like me. And I've seen it, and I've seen the change over the last 10 years. It's been drastic in computer science. We're not there yet. We still got a ways to go, but I have witnessed amazing growth because there's been a lot of investment in leveling the playing field. So that's been my experience.
Yeah.
We need more of that. We just need more. We need to take it to that next level and continue doing that in the future.
You've never had a problem speaking from the heart. I love what you said. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for doing this. Linda, thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for submitting what you submitted. I think it's a beautiful photo, and your words are inspirational, and I love your passion for Star Trek, not because it's a TV show, but because you see the message and you also want that future. So
I do.
Because we're friends, well, regardless of us being friends, I love you and thank you for doing this.
Yeah. Thank you.